Hey guys, this is Supriya and I'm back again with another video on Core Java series. So today's topic would be access modifiers. In the last video we have seen what are packages, and in today's video we will learn what are access modifiers. Now in Java programming or any other programming, you might have seen that the code is written like this. Okay, public class identifiers, public static void main string args. Okay, so what is this public? Public is a keyword. Okay, it's a reserved word in Java library, and I will not tell you what are keywords because I have already told you this in the previous videos. Okay, so if you want to learn them again, just go back and watch my previous videos on keywords. Okay, so public, the moment I write public, okay, before any class or before any variable or before any method, then we are deciding the scope of this class or variable or method to be used. Okay, it will tell the compiler that if the class is public or the variable is public or the method is public, this is the scope, and I permit you to use these properties anywhere in the class, in other classes or any other packages. So it determines who can access these classes, who can access the variables, or who can access the methods. So let's understand with the help of example. Okay, so let me just open my whiteboard. Okay, so consider I have this package. Okay, now I told you about what are packages. So if you want to understand it again, just go to my previous videos and understand what are packages. Okay, so consider this is my package 1. Okay, and this is my package 2. Okay, and I'll just write P over here. P means package, and here P means package again. So this is package 1, package 2, and inside this package I will have classes because package is the collection of classes. Okay, so this is my class A. So this is my class A, and here also this is, say, class B. Okay, and so this is class B, this is class C. Okay, and here this is class D, this is class say E, and this is class F. Okay, so class A, class B, class C, D, E, F. Okay, I'm just using different colors so that you can differentiate. Okay, this is my package 1. Inside this package 1 I have class A. Okay, let me just write A over here so that you can understand this. Okay, this is my class A, and B. Okay, and this is my class C. This is D. This is E. Okay, and this is F. Now this class C is a subclass of B. Okay, now in Java there is a concept of inheritance wherein a class can be a child class of its parent class. Okay, so there can be a class inside the class. Okay, so if it is inside the class, that means it will inherit all the properties of its parent class. So just like if you know a, between a parent and a child relationship, the child will inherit all the properties of its parents. Okay, in the same way, in Java there is a concept called inheritance, wherein a class can be a subclass of a superclass, or in other words you can say there can be a class, a child class, which will inherit all the properties of its parent class. Okay, so inheritance we will understand more in details in future videos, so don't worry about this. For now, just understand that this, when I say that class C is a subclass of class B, which is a superclass, okay, it will inherit all the properties, C will inherit all the properties of B class. Okay, okay, so let me just draw one line here, one arrow. So if I am showing this arrow, that means class C is the subclass of class B. So this big class B becomes the superclass and this becomes the subclass. Or you can say this way also, that class C becomes the child class and class B becomes the parent class. Okay, and let me just draw one diagram over here also. Okay, if I'm showing the arrow here, it means that class F is the subclass of class B, but both belongs to different packages. Okay, now we will understand how access modifiers, when defined before these classes, it decides the scope of these classes. Okay, so I'll just give you one example, just a moment. Okay, so when I say that a class, say I say this, that this class E is public. Okay, so let me just write this as public. Okay, so this class E, I have defined it as public, or I have declared this as public. So it will decide the scope of this class E. So what do I mean by that? That means that this class E can be globally used. Means the properties of this class can be used anywhere in Java world. Okay, that means class E can be used inside this package by other classes, or within the package, like in the package wherein it is existing, it can be used by any classes within the package. Okay, or it can be used by the other packages by other classes as well. Okay, and there can be, I have just shown here 2 packages, but there can be more than 2 packages. There can be 3, 4, 5 or n number of packages and n number of classes within them. Okay, so if I say public, then the class can be used anywhere in the Java world. So this is the that means the class can be accessed anywhere in the Java world, and this is one of the keyword. Okay, remember I told you that there are the list of Java keywords, and can you see the heading over here? It's modifiers, and these are the list of several modifiers, and public is one of the access modifiers, you see, which determines the access level of the classes or the member variables. Okay, now in the same way, if you define any member variable. Now guys, member variables are the properties of any objects, okay? Remember in the last video of class and objects, I told you that, let me just open that screenshot so that you will understand. This is an object person and it has some properties, black hair, eyes, skin, and the person is tall, his weight, okay? So in Java, we are representing these properties as variables. Can you see this? And we also studied how to write these variables, how to declare them with the value. So now henceforward, I won't be saying the properties or state. The moment I say member variables, that means the variables which are the properties of the object and defined in the class, okay? And this object can have different behavior or action, and for them I'll be using the word methods or functions, okay? So the moment I say methods or functions, that means I'm just telling that they are the behavior or action or any task performed by the object, and they are all defined inside the class. Okay, so if you want to understand what are class and objects, just go back to my previous video on class and objects and learn that. Okay, so now henceforward I will be using technical words in place of simple words, and you need to get hold of these technical words. Okay, and in the programming language we make the use of these technical words rather than the simple words. So member variables means that these variables defining the properties, and methods defining the behavior of the object. Okay, so coming back to access modifiers, now we spoke about class being public. Now let's see what if the member variables, like the variables and the methods, they are public, then what will happen? So say if this class E has variables as public, so let me just open my Eclipse. So can you see here in the last video of identifiers, I have written this code, okay? And say one of the variables, say this variable which is declared as int type, okay? Let me just say that this is public. Okay, and these are the keywords, and they should always start with the small letters. Okay, and let's say that this method is also public. Okay, so our member variables are now public. So what do I mean by that? Okay, in the same way as the class being public, these member variables, when declared as public, will be accessed anywhere in the Java world. Okay, so be it within the package by other classes, or be it outside its own package by other classes or subclasses, it can be accessed anywhere in the Java world. So it's globally used. They are globally used member variables, you can say in that way. Means we are permitting them to be used anywhere. So these are different definitions I'm giving just to make you understand. Okay, so here this class E, say I have the member variable, I'm declaring the member variable as int A. The moment I write public int A, that means you're declaring it, okay? And this A is public now. And if I have, say, another method which is public void, we will learn what is void. Okay, this is a return type, so don't worry about that. Say there is a method display, and I have these two member variables. One is variable A, another one is a method display, Okay, so the moment I declare them as public, that means that these are there in class E, and it's not that it is in class E, so it will be accessed only in class E. They will be accessed by any other classes within the package. So its own package is package 2, or it can be accessed outside its own package by other packages and classes in other packages, or subclasses also in other packages. It can be used or accessed. Okay, but they has to be public. Now if you see this chart, I'll show you this chart. Sorry. These are the list of access modifiers. So we have 4 types of access modifiers, and we learned about public. Okay, so can you see this rows under the class? It can be accessed by any class, it can be accessed by any package, it can be accessed by subclass, or it's globally accepted, or globally used class, or member variables or methods. Okay, now we will see what is default. I'll tell you what is protected and private. Now we will see default. Okay, so default does not have any keyword. Okay, it's just that you don't have to write anything. You can just remove this, and if you are not writing any access modifier, that means this class is a default class. Okay, or this member variable. Okay, we'll talk about that later. So first talk about the class being a default class. So if we are not defining or declaring any access modifiers, so it means that they are default. Okay, and default does not have any keyword. You just don't need to write anything, and before class, if there is nothing, then it means a default class. And what is the access level now? So I'll just remove this. Okay, now say I have this class E. Okay, this class E, and there is no access modifier, so it's a default class. So what is its scope? Its scope will remain within its own package. Okay, so only package 2, the classes of package 2 can only use class E and its properties. Okay, if you try to use if we try to use this class, which is a default class, outside the package by other classes or subclasses, then it will give you the error. So all the default classes has the scope only within its own package. Okay, or just any classes within its own package, or the subclasses within its own package. Let me just draw one more arrow over here. Just give me a moment. So here we go. So this arrow indicates that this class F is the subclass of superclass E. Okay, and class EF will inherit all the properties of E. So if the class E is a default class, okay, it can be accessed by other classes or subclasses within its own package, but it will not be used by other packages outside its own packages, or any other classes or any other subclasses outside its own packages. So this is the access level of the default class. Now coming to the member variables. So when I say member variables, that means that member variables will be these variables and the methods. Okay, so what if I'm not giving any access modifier here? Okay, before the member variables. Okay, and this, let me just keep this as public. Okay, so in the same way, these member variables, if you don't give any access modifier here, they will be considered as default access modifiers, and in the same way they can be also accessed within its own packages. Okay, so if you see this chart, if any member variable or class is default, then it can be accessed within its own package or class or subclasses, but it has to be within its own package. But outside the package, it cannot be used. Okay, so this is how we say. Okay, and one thing I want to highlight over here is a class can only be a public or default. Okay, so at the class level, you can have the access modifier to be set as public or default, but it cannot be protected or private. Okay, I'll tell you the reason why. However, if we talk about member variables, okay, so these are the member variables if you see. Okay, employee age, and here the method, these are the member variables. So if we talk about them, they can be public, default, protected, and private, but the class can only be declared as either public or default. So in case of default, we just don't need to put any access modifier. It will be simply considered as default class. Okay, and if the member variable is protected, say if I am writing protected over here, this is the keyword, this is the access modifier. If I am writing protected int employee age or protected void employee salary details, this is a method, then what is the scope or access level of these member variables? Let me just open that sheet. Okay, so if my class E has its member variable as, let me just write this. Okay, so this time let's take the example of this class B of this package 1. Okay, so if this class B of package 1 has its member variable A and method display declared as protected, then what is the access level? Then these member variables, just like default access modifier, can be accessed by other classes or subclasses within its own package. Okay, it cannot be accessed by other classes outside its package. Okay, however, there is a condition. If these member variables or methods declared as protected, they can be outside, they can be accessed outside in own package only if there is a subclass in other package which has its superclass inside its own package. Okay, so can you see this arrow? Class F is a subclass of class B, and this class B is in package 1. Okay, and this package 1 is the house of, or it's the member variables are declared within its own package as protected. So these member variables definitely can be accessed within its own package, or these subclasses or classes within its own package. Okay, just like the default access modifier. Okay, if they are declared as protected. However, outside its own package by other packages, it cannot be accessed until and unless there is a subclass in other package outside its own package which is inherited by its parent class within its own package. Okay, so if there is a subclass in package 2 or package 3 and there is a superclass of this subclass in its own package, then in the class wherein it is being declared as protected, all the member variables can be accessed by the subclasses of other packages. But the class in which the member variables are declared as protected has to be the superclass of the subclass of other packages. Okay, so this is the condition. All right, so I hope you understood this protected access modifier. So if I just show you this chart, so we learned about public keyword, we learned about protected, and default. For default there is no keyword because I told you that there is no keyword for default. If you are not putting any keyword as the access modifier, it means that it is default. Okay, so let's talk about private now as the keyword. Okay, and this is the access modifier as well. Private is very simple. So if any member variable, a class cannot be a private. Okay, I already told you a class can not be a private, or it cannot be protected also, but the member variables can be private, protected, public, or default. Okay, so if any member variable or any method is declared as private, only the class, its own class can access it. Like the class B can only access its own variables or methods. So these variables I have declared inside class B. So only class B can access it. Even if you try to access them outside class B within its own package, if class A also tries to access them, then it can't be done. It will show you the error because it's private. Okay, so there are, while developing the application, there are certain confidential methods or properties that you don't want to show it to others. Okay, so it decides that if you declare them as private, then you are restricting them to be used within its own class. Okay, so if you are developing the application, say payroll application, then you don't want to show employee's salary to anyone. Okay, so it can be, the salary module can be restricted within its own class, but other classes cannot view the employee's salary. So this is just the example that I gave you. Or in banking application, there are certain things that you cannot show it to everyone. The balance in your account. So only the person who is accessing can see that. So that time these variables or methods should be made private. So even within this own package where the class B is there, and if the class B has some member variables, say A is private or display as private, then only class B can access them, and class A or subclass class C cannot, even subclass of class B cannot access them. Okay, so it's very much restricted. So forget about other packages. Okay, so let's just revise. So we also spoke about private as a keyword. Okay, And let's go back to that chart. Okay, so private as the access modifier, only it will be accessed within its own class, not by anyone else within its package or outside its own package. So these are all the list of access modifiers. And I also told you that a class cannot be protected or private, because if you make class as protected or private, okay, if you make the class as protected and private, okay, say if this class is private, this will not allow you, but I'm just giving you example. If the class is private and if you make this as public, that makes no sense, because the class itself is not cannot be accessed outside its own scope. So that makes no sense that you are defining or declaring the variable as public and the class which is including this variable as private, then this can not be accessed by any other classes or within the package. So it makes no sense. So a class can never be private or protected. However, it can be either public or default. Okay, and that is the reason why a main method, which is the starting point of execution, is declared as public. Okay, can you see this public keyword written here? So if the main method is not public, then it cannot be accessed anywhere, and this is the starting point of execution that JVM looks for to enter into the code. Okay, so main method is said to be public. It is declared as public so that other classes, or it can be used anywhere in Java world. Okay, so now we have understood one part of this main method. We will understand all these keywords in the later videos of main method. Okay, so I will just end this video and see you in the next video. You have a great day and a great weekend. Goodbye. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye-bye.